Hey guys, Shanna here. Welcome to my channel all about finding joy while living with autoimmune disease. I'm so glad to have you here. So today I'm going to talk about what to do when the autoimmune protocol, when the AIP does not seem to be working for you. So I received some DMs and emails occasionally saying, I started the AIP, I'm doing it. It's not working. What the heck? And so I just wanted to address some issues that you can look at if the AIP does not seem to be working, and also some things to keep in mind as you start the AIP, as you fine tune it, as you tweak it. I'm going to share my experience and what I had to do, and then also give you some resources that you can look at so that you can dive in deeper to some issues that you may be experiencing. I think one of the coolest things is bio-individuality, meaning what works best nutritionally for me may look different than what works best nutritionally for you. And so the autoimmune protocol, the AIP, is not meant to be like one size fits all, do it exactly this way, and like it's gonna be wonderful and a miracle and all of these things. No, it may need tweaking and adjusting and fine-tuning. And I know that there are foods that I couldn't tolerate on the AIP for a period of time. I've been since able to reintroduce them. But as I was learning more about how I felt when I ate different things, I noticed that I needed to take certain foods out at certain times, and that's totally okay. So please just keep in mind bio-individuality. I just wanted to share my experience with the autoimmune protocol and troubleshooting it. I started the autoimmune protocol, AIP, at my rock bottom. I was feeling pretty darn bad. I was barely functioning. I was really struggling, and I started AIP and I noticed small improvements, and then I noticed larger improvements. But I will say that once I did start feeling improvements in my symptoms and I started feeling better, I did notice, while I was so glad I did have times where I was feeling so much better, I would notice that other times I wasn't feeling as great as I thought maybe I should be. And so I really started to pay attention to, yes, I was eating like 100% on the AIP, but I started to pay attention to, okay, what AIP foods am I eating when I feel this way versus what AIP foods am I eating when I feel this way. And I started to just kind of see patterns and notice certain foods that I wouldn't feel as well when I would eat. For example, I noticed that I wasn't feeling as well when I would eat onions or avocado or garlic, which is really a bummer for me because those are three of my favorite foods. I love onions, I love garlic, and I love avocado. My husband can attest to all of that. And so I did have to eliminate those for a period of time, and I felt, I saw improvements, and then I was able to re-enter those back in within a couple of months. I've been eating them for a while now, no problems at all. So there may be other AIP foods that you're eating that maybe you aren't tolerating, like cassava or coconut or sweet potatoes. There's all different kinds of things. So just pay attention to what you eat AIP wise and how you feel afterwards. One great tool that can help you is a food and mood journal. So you can get a paper and just write down, all of your meals, everything that you put into your mouth, and then how you feel, like if you have digestive reactions, how you feel energy wise, mood wise, and then just see after a few days, see if you can correlate how you're feeling as far as, mood and energy levels, digestion, to any of these AIP foods that might be an issue for you. So you can just jot down your food and mood journal on a blank piece of paper, in a notebook, in your computer, on your calendar, in your phone, or if you want like a cute little, food and mood journal worksheet, I have one for you. It's a free download. It is, I will link that below, and you can just print them out and, fill them out for a few days. And something else that you want to take a look at is, are you getting a variety of nutrients? So I know it can be so tempting, especially when starting AIP, to just okay, I've got my favorite 3 AIP foods and I'm just gonna eat these for 3 months. That's not how it works. Our bodies really do need a variety of nutrients. Keep in mind that it's important to eat a variety of meats, a variety of vegetables, a variety of fruits, a variety of fats. And my go-to AIP resource is Dr. Sarah Ballantyne, the Paleo mom, and I love this quote by her. She said, "The immune system, and indeed every system in the body, requires an array of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, essential fatty acids, and amino acids to function normally. Micronutrient deficiencies and imbalances are key players in the development and progression of autoimmune disease, end quote. And so as we're trying to give our bodies and our immune systems a chance to reset and to kind of get everything back in balance, it's important that we're feeding our bodies a variety of those micronutrients and antioxidants and, you know, all of those good things. One of the cool things is you can also eat not just a variety of different kinds of vegetables, but a variety of different types of the same kind of vegetable. So like there's a bunch of different kinds of mushrooms, right? So you could eat a variety of mushrooms. There's a bunch of different kinds of sweet potatoes. You can eat a variety of different sweet potatoes. Try to eat the rainbow. Try to eat as many colors as you can every day. You can make it a game with your kids, like, hey, how many colors can we eat today? And fruits and vegetables. You know, I'm trying to make it fun. And the awesome thing about being on the autoimmune protocol, the awesome thing about learning the power of nutrition is that we, as, you know, family, as mothers, as sisters, as wives, as friends, we get to like share what we're learning. We get to share the power of, you know, well, nutrition and lifestyle. And so one way I like to do that with my kids is to not only lecture them, which I stopped doing as often, but to tell them like really cool things and really cool tidbits and to encourage them to like make it a game. It's so fun. Another part of troubleshooting the AIP in my experience was to make sure that my meals are macro balanced, meaning that make sure that I have a protein, carbs in the form of vegetables, and healthy fat at every meal. And that really, not only does that help balance my blood sugar and ensure I'm getting a variety of nutrients, I also noticed it helps me feel my best. I noticed it was really important for me to limit my natural sugar intake. So there's a lot of AIP approved fruits and natural sugars, and it can be tempting if you're like me to eat them all. I love fruit, I love sweet things. And so my first, you know, months on AIP, I was living in Southern California and it's warm there, and I was all about the smoothies and the pitaya bowls, and I noticed I wasn't feeling as well when I would eat too much of that. And so I really encourage you to take a look at your natural sugars and to maybe pull back as needed. Just because it is an AIP approved food doesn't mean we should eat it all day long. Another issue I had was making sure I was eating enough real whole foods. So prior to starting the AIP, I relied heavily on protein shakes and on, you know, some of the easier processed, you know, foods. I wouldn't say I was like terrible, I wasn't, but I wasn't eating a lot of quantity of food. And so when I started AIP and I cut out the protein shakes and the convenience foods, I wasn't eating enough real whole foods for a time. It was totally a shock to my system to go from eating, you know, one way to eating AIP, all whole, fresh, real food. So once I upped my intake of food, once I made sure I was eating enough, I felt a lot better too. And so I encourage you to make sure you're getting enough healthy fats in there, protein and carbs in the form of vegetables, and that it may look like a lot of food. Like when I sit down with my plate, it looks like a lot of food because I eat very clean, real whole foods. And so I eat a lot of quantity of food. Also, meal spacing, you know, experiment with, if you feel better eating, you know, 5 to 6 smaller meals a day or 3 larger meals a day. I've done both on my AIP journey. When I started AIP, I physically felt better eating 6 smaller meals a day. That's just where I was at. That's what my body needed at that time. I did that for a number of months. At some point I transitioned. Today I eat 3 larger meals a day. I feel best when I eat 3 meals a day with limited snacking. That's where I'm at. So I encourage you to experiment with your meal spacing. You will hear people say, oh, no, 6 small meals a day. And then you'll also hear people say, oh, no, 3 large meals a day. I've done both. When I say listen to your body, if your body's saying, I want some, you know, chocolate, I want some fast food, I want some fried food, I want some cherry Coke, I want all the things, then don't listen to your body. Like, your body cannot be trusted yet. It needs some time. Give it some time. My body was saying all of those things too at first. It took several weeks for my body to stop doing, maybe a couple months to completely stop my cravings. Did you know taste buds can change? It's pretty amazing. My taste buds have changed so much. If you are struggling with cravings, if you're struggling with overcoming unhealthy coping mechanisms, I do have a couple articles to help you out with those, and I will link those down below too. One thing to think about when you're troubleshooting AIP is, are you really eating AIP 100% of the time? There's a lot of this 80-20 mindset, and I was very much of the 80-20 mindset prior to starting AIP. I was very much trying to eat well, what I thought was well, like 80% of the time, and then like Friday night, like all bets were off, like it was a free-for-all. And so breaking those cheat days was really hard, but so worth it. Be honest with yourself. Like if you say, yeah, Shanna, I've been on AIP for 6 weeks and I'm not feeling better, well, were you really on AIP strict for that 6 weeks? Or if you're like, I tried AIP for 3 months, no improvement, were you on AIP strict for those 3 months? It really does need to be 100% of the time when we're talking about the autoimmune protocol. Another issue could be rushing reintroduction. So are you in such a hurry to just like serve your 30 days AIP time, or your 60 days AIP time, or your 90 days AIP time, and then be done with it, and go back to eating all the things? That's probably not what your body needs. It's really important to not rush reintros. And hey, I was guilty of this too. You could watch my reintro video, see how I failed reintros the first time. So how about AIP baked goods and sweets and desserts? I didn't know about those when I started AIP. I did not know about them for a number of months. I didn't know there was a way to get AIP desserts and treats. And so I didn't have that issue until I learned about them a few months later. And then I would notice, I'm like, oh sweet, they're AIP, I could eat them, I noticed that when I eat them too often, I don't feel as well. I can get away with like one every like week or two, but if I start eating them more often, I do not feel as well. I'm not saying that that's going to be your experience at all. Maybe you can eat them more often and not have any issue. I'm just saying that I'm very sensitive to them. And so just a heads up, if you're on the AIP and if you're not feeling the way that you think you should, I would cut out for sure the AIP sweets, baked goods, treats, and I'd cut out AIP packaged snacks like cassava chips and stuff like that too. Take it to like the basics, because you're on AIP, right? You're making these sacrifices, you're trying to get your life back, you're trying to feel better, you're trying to find, all this relief from your symptoms. And if you're not, while you're eating all of those things, I would take them out and just focus on real, unprocessed, whole foods, real foods, quality sourced, and give that some time. Give that several weeks and see how you feel. See if your symptoms improve. Sometimes, there's a way to AIP a dirty way, right? We'll make sure that you're AIP-ing clean, that you're eating a lot of, quality, whole, nutrient-dense foods. I'm not saying don't ever eat the AIP sweets and treats and comfort foods. I'm just saying moderation, and then if you're still struggling, I would cut them out for a period of weeks and then add them back in slowly and see how you feel. So I want to share my favorite AIP troubleshooting resource with you. It is by Dr. Sarah Ballantyne. It is the Paleo approach, and chapter 8 is all about troubleshooting, and it takes a deep dive, and I just want to share some of it with you. I encourage you to get this book, check it out from your library. She also has an autoimmune protocol ebook that I will link below too. That is super helpful, but for now I'm just going to share some of this information with you. She says, if you've been absolutely compliant with the Paleo approach, which is the autoimmune protocol, for 3 months and nothing seems to have changed, don't give up. So she's saying if you've been AIP strict for 3 months and you're not seeing improvement, let's go ahead and start troubleshooting. Let's go ahead and start looking at some of these issues that you might be having, that if you just fix them, if you address them, if you tweak them, if you fine tune them, voila, that could be a huge game changer. She says, the first question to ask yourself is whether you're doing everything in your power to fully implement the protocol. Be honest. Are you following the diet recommendations to the letter? Do you double check the label on everything you're consuming that has a label, including spices? And she goes on and asks a lot of other questions too, some of which we have talked about. I just want to add in here too, eating out on the autoimmune protocol. Okay. It can be so tricky, because even if you order AIP foods, the risk of cross-contamination back in the kitchen is so much higher than I realized it was. And so at the beginning of my AIP journey, within a few weeks, I was feeling well enough, like let's go to date nights again, let's go out to eat, I'm finding these places. And then sure enough, the next day or the next few days, I would feel horrible and I'd be like, what the heck? I ate AIP, I'm doing all the things. Now I understand that I made it so much harder on myself because I was trying to eat out at places I shouldn't have been eating out at, or I didn't know quite how to communicate with the waiter or the chef or the manager. And that just takes time and experience, but I would encourage you to be super careful when eating out on the autoimmune protocol. I have a free allergy card, that AIP allergy card, that you can take with you to a restaurant, as well as a free elevator pitch. Like if you have a hard time explaining the way you eat, it's just like a few sentences. This is how I eat, clear and to the point. So I will link that below too. Those are just free downloads too. Or like make your own little allergy card too. So some other things that Dr. Sarah Ballantyne talks about in this chapter is poor digestion. I know that that was one of my issues. So one of the questions I get asked is, do I take supplements? Yes, I do take supplements. Yes, I do take digestive enzymes. I take HCl, stomach acid support, among some other supplements that are targeted. So I worked with a naturopath at the time when I started, because my body was not absorbing nutrients, it was not absorbing electrolytes, it was not absorbing minerals, it was not digesting the right way. So I had to work on that, and I still do take supplements to aid in my digestion. I've cut down on them over time, but I do take them. I do not share specifics as far as like my dosing, what kind I use, how often, because I want you to work with your practitioner, your functional med doctor, your naturopath, your NTP. I am an NTP now. I'm graduating in a couple weeks, and so I just handle all of my own supplements now and my own dosing, which I love. It's amazing. But I'm just really careful about, it's an individual thing. I don't want you to go spend money on supplements that you don't need to be taking. Just because I need to take it doesn't mean you need to take it. And your body may need slightly different supplements than my body needs. And so I don't go there as far as telling you, oh, get this, this, and this, and this, and you know, these are the doses. I don't want to waste your money if you don't need it. And everybody is different. So I encourage you to work with your medical team. In the digestive section of the troubleshooting chapter, Dr. Sarah Ballantyne does talk about, you know, stomach acid and supplements and gallbladder support. She takes a deeper dive where this is what you're going to look for. This is how you know you need it. So again, I encourage you, if you think you need digestive support, even if you don't know if you need it, but the AIP is not working, read this chapter for sure, because you may need some digestive support. She talks about digestive enzymes, and she goes all into that. She talks about, you know, probiotics, if you need probiotics, how to know if you need probiotics, what type of probiotics. She talks about SIBO, which is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, how to know if that might be an issue for you, the steps that you need to take, the testing that can be done. She talks about persistent infections and parasites that may be an underlying problem. She talks about the gut-brain axis. She talks about allergies and intolerances and sensitivities, like a deep dive into this. So again, this is an amazing resource. I think if you don't have the book, I would think it'd be available in libraries too. So check with your local library if you don't want to buy it. She talks about, you know, eating seasonally and cycling foods. She talks about histamine intolerance. She talks about sulfite sensitivities, other sensitivities, cross-contamination, organ function support. Dr. Sarah also talks about tightening up, you know, your blood sugar regulation. That could be an issue too. Micronutrient deficiencies, healing and repairing your gut, modulating your immune system, supplements, you know, more notes on supplements. So anyway, she has a whole troubleshooting checklist. So you can go through, like, AIP doesn't work for me. Dude, here you go. Like, lays it all out there for you. Diet, digestion. Okay, lifestyle is huge. Eating all the things is, you know, so important, but if you're not sleeping, if you're like really, really stressed out, AIP, the nutrition side of it, will not work as well as if you have those things in check. And so I really encourage you to make sleep a priority, to examine, like, are you getting 8 to 9 to 10 to 11 hours of sleep. So my experience with sleep is I needed a lot of sleep when I was at my rock bottom, when I was starting AIP, as my body was changing as I was on AIP. Amazing things happen as we sleep. Our bodies repair and restore, and my body needed a lot of sleep. So I was sleeping like 11 to 12 hours plus taking a nap when I was at my rock bottom as I was starting AIP. I was sleeping a lot. I'm not saying that you need that much sleep. I'm just saying I slept a lot, and then that gradually, went down. I went to napping every other day, every few days. I haven't napped. I rarely nap anymore. My energy levels are great, and I sleep 8 to 9 hours now. Again, I'm almost 2 years into my wellness journey, and it's been a very gradual process. And when I do have a setback, I make more time for sleep. I take naps when I need to, or I try to get more sleep. And so our bodies are changing, and they need that sleep. So I encourage you to make sleep a priority. If you're dealing with insomnia, there's things that you can do. I dealt with, I would fall asleep fine, but I'd wake up in the middle of the night at the same time every night and be awake. It turns out mine was more like a blood sugar regulation issue. And once I got that in check, then I was able to sleep better. So I encourage you to troubleshoot your sleep if you need to. Also, stress. Stress is a killer. Stress is so difficult. If you are under a lot of stress, to find ways to manage stress. We'll define healthy coping mechanisms to, learn some deep breathing exercises like a tapping technique, anything that you can use to help you work through that stress and try to bring it down. Those are my tips for what to do when the AIP doesn't work, when the AIP does not seem to be working. If you've done all of these things, if you've done all of them to a T, if you've read Dr. Sarah's book, her troubleshooting chapter, and checked off everything, and the AIP is not working, I encourage you to work with your medical team and try to find a different nutritional program that will work for you. Again, bioindividuality, everybody is different, and so your needs may be different than mine, and our needs are different than other people's, and so I just encourage you to try all of these things and to always work with your medical team, of course. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them. I don't give medical advice. I simply share my experience and my knowledge as an NTP. Thank you for being here. Let me know what your experience with the AIP is, when it hasn't, like how you fine-tuned it, how you tweaked it, what didn't work for you. I'd love to hear. I publish new videos every week, so if you don't want to miss any, please hit subscribe. I hope you guys have an amazing week.